Hey, and welcome to another episode of The Influential Nonprofit. I'm here with my new best friend, Ann Murphy. And I am Maryanne, so it's all the Anns. Are you Anne Marie Murphy?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm Mary Ann, so there we go.
There we go. And both with an E, so we know we're in
Yep,
the good
yep,
club.
yep. Um, I'm a 60s baby, 70s kid. There were lots of Marys and Anns.
Mhm.
And okay, and if you don't know me, I am the host of the Influential Nonprofit. I work with nonprofit leaders to master the art of influence. So you can ask for and receive anything you want
Mm,
and not feel pushy, pitchy,
mhm.
or any of those things that you don't want to feel. And it really works, and I love it. And I am here with Anne because we're going to talk about something I have never talked about, and I don't really know very much about. So I am learning right along with you, which is AI and fundraising.
Mm.
Woo! And Anne is the CEO of Empowered Fundraising Consulting and Coaching, and you're a fundraising coach and an AI strategist. All right,
Yeah.
I want to get into this. Before I do, I always ask one question to begin this conversation, and it is, tell me something you're really proud of that you don't get to brag about a lot.
I love this question. I loved hearing your other guests answer it because you're so right. There are things that we just don't get to brag about um, that make us the badasses that we
Yep,
are.
yep,
Like little do people know, in the background, we're also just straight up badasses.
yep.
So one of the things that I don't get to talk about very often because there's just not a lot of forum to talk about it is that my happiest place is backcountry backpacking, especially on solo adventures. So I will
Wow.
set out with everything on my back that I need for a few weeks at a time. And what I've learned through that process is, and why I'm so proud of it, is that there is a time and place for self-doubt. And there are moments where we can work through that.
Yes.
Backcountry backpacking is not a time and place for self-doubt. And when you are in the practice of, with every single step, saying to yourself, this is the moment I've trained for. I am prepared. I am strong. This is no match for me. When you do that for thousands and thousands and thousands of steps at a time, going, straight up with a bunch of weight on your back, you better bet that when you go into the front country, normal everyday life, when those fears and doubts creep up, does this dress make me look fat?
Yeah,
There's no room for it anymore.
right.
And training my brain, people have all sorts of different ways that they work through these things. But for me, backcountry backpacking has been the way that my brain has been retrained towards self-love and away from ever-present self-doubt. So I'm really proud of it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. So there's no place for doubt when
There's no
you're only
place for it.
relying on yourself, right?
You can't.
Yeah.
Yeah. You would
And
just go home or you would just sit down.
right, you would just like I think even going home would require some, um, and you and there's no option to stay stuck, right? You can't just sit
Right.
down. Um,
Right.
I really love that. And I was thinking of the word fortitude when you were talking, like that idea of just that inner knowing, right? Like
Yes.
that. And so stripping away everything and just being part of that, like that, it's just me. Okay. And now I have to ask you this because there was this TikTok wave last month or so where people were like, women were like, would you rather be trapped with a bear in the woods or a man? And women were like, oh my God, a bear, 100%. Because that behavior is more predictable than a man. And men could not understand, a lot of men who could not understand, like, why would you want to be a bear? So from your perspective, because if you're in the back, I mean, I'm sure there's bears, right? There's lots of things.
Yeah. From my perspective, I was totally on Team Bear as well. Um, in fact, the only predator that I have any fear around is men out in the backcountry. Yeah,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
Yeah.
The other things I know a lot, I've like a lot of situational awareness, a lot of scenario building, a lot of skills, but for dealing with like the apex predator, that one is something that I would do worry about. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
afraid of anything else. And I'm only a little bit afraid. Most people in the backcountry are completely lovely.
Gotcha. Yeah. I bet. I can imagine.
It's like a nice little family out there.
And where is the backcountry? When you talk about the backcountry, where is that? Where are you located?
So I live in Oregon, and so Oregon, Washington, California, we have absolutely beautiful hiking, but I go all over the world. Wherever there's somewhere where I would like to, investigate some wild hare, I get a wild hare. If I am, healthy and have time and I'm trained up, I can pretty much go anywhere. I've done some really hard things, and I think that I might not do as many things that are as difficult going forward. I did realize in the last year, like, I don't have to do the things that are like the hardest. I could do a route that is more civilized. So
Yeah.
I started building. I turned 50 in January, and I was like, you know what, Anne? Maybe you could just take a little amble. Why does it always have to be straight up or straight down?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I love it. Thank you. That was a really good brag. I appreciate that. All right. Okay. So let's talk about AI. Like anything new, it's exciting and scary. So what is just give us a nice overview of what are the bonuses of this, and then what are our fears, our worries. You said what makes it magic, and then what makes it scary, because there's room for both, right?
There's room for both. And the first thing I'll say definitely applies to both. I think, what's exciting and what's scary is that AI amplifies our humanity. So it allows us to expand into our zone of genius and spend more time doing the things that only we can do. And yet it also creates a scenario where the darker sides, the shadow selves, the ne'er-do-wells also have the same opportunity to amplify their humanity, right? And so some of the scarier forces in our society, in our world, are going to happen on blast, just like some of the beauty in our world is going to happen faster and more accessibly. So there's a double-edged sword. The things that excite me the most about AI are the leveling of the playing field. So here we have this totally ubiquitous, practically free opportunity to learn how to use these tools to do our best work even better. And interestingly, the tools actually are more impactful for people who are like way upskilling than it is for somebody who's already highly skilled and just trying to get a little leg up. So we see the people who historically may not have had those positions of power or proximity to power. We see them with these tools being able to totally level up, leapfrog, without some of the barriers that have existed before. We say in fundraising, we want to be good communicators, but oftentimes that's what we really mean is we want everybody to be a perfect writer.
Yeah.
Well, we take a lot of pride in that, but we know lots and lots of amazing leaders, very inspiring fundraisers and fundraising leaders who are not actually excellent writers. This removes that barrier so that those people can go out and lead, right, and inspire without this self-imposed limitation of you must write like this or like that. So I'm excited about the leveling of the playing field. And I'm also really excited about our ongoing ability to build stakeholder trust, to engage our donors by having more customization, by being able to do things. We kind of get to punch above our weight when we've got small staff, right? Like now we can do some of our outreach at scale. We can scale what wasn't scalable before. And that is really exciting to me.
Yeah, it is. Okay, I'm going to give you a little example of what I did. And like when I dipped my toe into the AI pool, right? Into the very shallow end. Okay. But I did a 2-part podcast on working with your board to generate leads, right? How to turn your board into a lead generating machine. And I do a training with boards based on this. And I had a board, and I wanted to give them kind of a manual to have so they could track, because there was going to be some gaps in time between when we could meet, and I didn't want them to forget whatever. So I basically took the content of this podcast, right, and dropped it in and said, make me a manual with
Mhm.
subheads. I want it to be, professional but friendly, blah, blah,
Mhm.
blah. And it spit out something to me in a few minutes, not even. And it took me, I would say, about another couple hours,
Mhm.
because I'm formatting it. They changed some
Yep.
language. I'm like, I have this attitude, action, accountability, and that's a thing that I use all the time. And they change,
Yes.
and I went in, but it probably saved me 8 hours of work. Like, you know what I mean? Going back to that
Uh-huh.
podcast, writing everything, da da da, pulling it from different places. I just dropped it in. I said, make me a manual. And then that I would say I wouldn't have offered it, had I, like, you know what I'm saying? I wouldn't have just, hey,
Yes.
I just said, hey, I'll send you a manual. I would have said, I would have maybe had to think about, oh my gosh, a fee for this or something. But I just created and said, hey, it's part of the package. And I was like, wow, this is really powerful. But then
Yes.
I was telling my friend that, and she's a writer. She's like, I have lost jobs. I am losing business to people now who were giving me things to write, who are now letting AI do the writing. So
Yeah.
that's the other side of that.
That is the other side of it. And also the other side of it is that the best writing, the best communication right now is when we take somebody with that subject matter expertise of being a fantastic writer, and pair that with AI. That's the best writing. And I don't think of it anymore um, as writing per se. I think of it as creating written material.
Yes.
It's you plus AI, and that's how our copywriters and our, case statement writers, that's where their careers are going to thrive.
Yes. Because
Mhm.
here's the thing, what you were saying before is like the ideas were all mine, right?
Oh
Like
yeah.
the whole process, the idea, all that was all me. It was just that allowed me to organize it. And so what you're
Mm-hmm.
saying before about staying in your zone of genius,
Stone
that
genius.
allowed me to, like, because my zone of genius is not writing manuals, you know,
Thank
and
goodness.
what?
Thank goodness.
I know, right? My zone of genius is like coaching and training and working with people. So it allowed me to get that done so I could focus on what I really wanted to be doing. Um, so and I feel like, like everything, okay, what we want and what you and I both work for is having aligned, authentic, transparent relationships, right?
Yes.
Because that is in fundraising, but in life in general, right? Aligned,
Mhm.
authentic, transparent, open, honest. That's the relationships that we strive for. And and sometimes I feel like the AI, you know, popping in something in Chat GPT can feel like you're not being authentic.
Mhm.
So what is the balance there?
Mhm. So I really advocate for people to spend some time reflecting on this, because it's not going away, to think about what is your own personal kind of code of ethics. And as you dive into it, you'll start learning, like, where are the areas where I need to decide, what is the line that I want to draw. An example I'll use is, if you're making AI artwork, are you a person who's going to say, I would like an image in the style of Andy Warhol, just like the tomato soup can, except make it a mushroom soup can? Are you that person, or are you someone who's going to say, I like pop art. Would you please create an image of a mouse for me in a pop art style? One is much more kind of extractive of the artist, right? When you're saying make it just like Andy Warhol. And the other one is to say, hey, here's a genre of artwork. I'm interested in a pop art picture of a mouse. Where are you on that, right? On that continuum is important for all of us to start thinking about ourselves, especially because at work, most of our organizations do not have AI frameworks in place yet. We don't have governance. We don't have data security and privacy, bias, transparency, continuous learning, compliance. We're all on our own. And all of us want to do what's right. And so reflecting on that, I think, is important for all of us. There are going to be a lot of examples that are going to pop up in our work where we're going to wish that we knew more. But that's just like everything else that we've already learned, right? You're going to get a piece of output and you're going to look at it and go, how do I make this sound more human, right? And you may not yet know how to do that. It may be that that's not an opportunity for you to use AI. That might be
Right.
when you're like, you know what, I'm going to write this baby from scratch because I can't tell. For example, I would not go writing a physics article for Scientific American. I would know I'm not in my zone of genius. I'm not in my area of expertise. I can't fact check this. I don't know if it's hallucinating. I don't know if there's bias in here. But if I'm writing, a case statement, for example, I can absolutely tell, is the writing, is it well written? Is it factual? What do I need to fact check? What can I be sure on? And I also know how to tweak the models to make sure that it sounds like like a sophisticated writer wrote it. It doesn't have errors in it. It doesn't have like hallucinations in it. So part of our job is to continue to learn how to do these things so that we're never in the place of putting content out there that has some of those telltale signs
Right.
that make it feel like cheating, right? That make it
Yes.
feel like, gosh, we're
Yes.
not really honoring this relationship
Yes.
because
Right.
we just put the assignment into ChatGPT and then hit send.
Yeah.
That's
Right.
not who we are, right?
Okay, so this reminds me of 2 points in the past. Like, okay, now I'm gonna really date myself. But when I started working in nonprofit in the very early 90s, okay, it just man, time flies. But and we got Macs and we got desktop publishing, like woo, and everyone used 47 fonts because you had 47 fonts, right? And we kind of just went ridiculous with boxes and lines because you could. And then
Yes.
after a while, people were like, oh, okay, I get it now, right? Like I can relax. But and then when social media, and I
Yeah.
remember like 2008, 9, and it was maybe earlier. I'm trying to think, but around then when it was like, oh crap, what are we gonna do? How are we gonna even manage this? And I remember asking, going to a workshop and asking a very, very well-known like PR person. One of the first like social media controversies was there was a rumor that Febreze was bad for your dog, right? And this was the
Oh,
first time that the first time, one of
misinformation.
the first times I remember that
Yes.
misinformation had gotten hold about Febreze and pets, and it wasn't safe around your pets. And I'm like, what? And I remember asking this person, and this, what do you do? And he was like, I don't know, because because we had never experienced this before, and it was kind of like the same feeling of this wild west
Oh,
of
yes.
how do we navigate, and people are so afraid of what if we get a negative comment. And now we know how to, we've learned, we're hard boiled, now
Yes.
on all of that. So, and I always bring that up only because anytime something is new, it feels overwhelming, and like you're like,
Yes.
oh my God, now I have to deal with that. Oh my God, now my board's going to ask me about that.
Yeah.
And but we always adapt, right?
Mhm.
And because you're right, you said it, this is not going away.
Yep. Yep. This is our brave new world. It is absolutely overwhelming. There is no question. In all of my like various communities of practice, one of the things that we deal with across the board, regardless of what area of AI we're in what industry, what size organization, doesn't matter. We deal with overwhelm like none of us have ever experienced before. We talk almost every day about who didn't sleep last night because they were either up learning, trying, fretting, studying. We lose so much sleep, which is actually one of our thought leaders that I highly recommend to your audience is a guy named Ethan Mollick. And he says, if you haven't lost at least 3 nights of sleep, you're not doing it right in the world of AI. So yeah, it's all consuming. What I recommend for people, because there is so much noise, I have two different kind of approaches into this world.
I
One
love
is
it.
Yeah, so practical. Focus on one platform, and I recommend OpenAI. So
Mhm.
that's going to be your ChatGPT. You're going to make images. It has voice, so you can talk to it. It has vision, so you can take pictures and it will interpret them. You can do data analysis. Soon you will be able to make videos out of, you'll just type, there's a bunny going to the store, Dollar Tree, to buy jujubes, make me a movie about it. Choose one platform. Don't get distracted by the bells and whistles. It just doesn't matter, right?
Gotcha.
Somebody's going to say, but Claude is better, but Google's better. And you're like, by like a fraction of, it does not matter.
So it just doesn't matter. Just pick one.
Pick one. And OpenAI is super intuitive. I believe in the company. I trust OpenAI. They've been there since the beginning, and I love what they've just done with making, they've made the paid model free to everybody in the whole entire world on Monday.
Right.
So every single person in the world has all of these modalities: photos, image, data, eventually movies, which I just really, I tip my cap to them because that's a major leap for humanity. And then the other thing I think of is just dive in through use cases. I'll give an example.
Yeah,
One that's
because
really
that was
fun.
what I was going to ask. Give me some examples of
Okay.
how, especially as fundraisers, we can
Okay.
use this.
All right. So this is fundraiser, but it's also human. So
Mhm.
so this is the season of lots of events, right? We've got cocktail hours, we've got graduations, we've got weddings. So here's something that we can all do that's super fun, and you'll understand the more work related applications once I share this. But what you'll do is you'll make sure that you have ChatGPT on your phone, and you will go into your closet and you'll take 3 pictures of your clothes. Maybe some shoes in there, maybe some accessories, just a couple things. You will take your ChatGPT app, you'll just press a plus button, just like you would in any other app, and load those pictures in and say, hey, ChatGPT, I am going to a baby shower, and it is also a backyard barbecue. What should I wear? And ChatGPT will pick your outfit for you. And it'll pick stuff that you haven't worn for a long time, that you thought that you didn't like. It'll pick different combinations. And all of a sudden now you don't have to go shopping. You're shopping in your closet. You'll say, it's a donor event and it's at the Ritz, and I've never been to the Ritz, but they're saying they use some word, I went to one recently with like art deco chic or something like that. So you say, okay, the organizer said it's art deco chic. What should I wear? So, a lot of people have social anxiety about going to donor events. Now we've got something solved for them. You could do that with your refrigerator and your pantry. I don't want to go to the grocery store. Give me 5 recipes that I can make based on what's in my refrigerator. By the way, I have one person who's gluten-free, one person who's a vegetarian, and one person who's just absolutely going to eat us out of house and home. So I need something with a lot of volume. Very practical. So a use case. So you've got something that you need to do to decide. You need insights, you need knowledge, and you need action. How can you use AI to help you with that? So a neat example would be if you're an event planner, for example, and you're wondering, you've got your event and you're wondering, is it time for us to kick off the program? You can take a picture of the crowd, just one little area of the crowd, and say, how many people are here? We were expecting 150. How many people are here? And it might say to you, okay, describe the space. And you're like, well, it's a ballroom in a hotel. It's X number of square feet. It'll tell you, yeah, 78% of the people are here. You might want to wait to start your program for another 5 minutes because based on traffic outside in LA, people are going to be late today.
Wow.
Right? So you start seeing how there are a lot of ways that you could decide when to start your event. And probably, you've got check-ins and stuff, so it might not be the perfect example, but just an example of just like you think about, today I'm going to say present a fundraising plan to a client, what are some of the questions that my client might have right off the bat? Or what are some of the objections the client might have to phase 2 of the consulting project, which is now we've got the basic fundraising plan, now we need to build a campaign plan. So those kind of things, like let's say you are planning for a solicitation, right? You can do your research on, the program that you're going to talk about. You can input some information about the donor's persona. We don't put any private information into ChatGPT. I think your audience would know that, but I want to reiterate, until further notice, we just don't put any private information into ChatGPT. When I'm talking about a donor, it's Minnie, it's Mickey, and my organization is Disneyland. I just,
Okay.
whatever, or, Laverne, Shirley, Mrs. Roper, Mr. Roper, whatever. And so you could take a description of the donor's persona, you could take your program and you can say, I'm about to ask for X, what are some of the questions that the donor might have? What are some of the objections? You could say, we need to roll out this new program, and historically my board president has been a little prickly about DEI. This is a hard conversation for us to have with people. Here's a little bit of the person's background. What might make them feel uncomfortable?
Okay. Mm-hmm.
How might I have a conversation with this board member to make sure that this conversation is comfortable for everybody? And ChatGPT may say, you might consider having a phone call ahead of time. You might consider starting by asking a couple of questions. You might acknowledge that you also were uncomfortable with this topic in the beginning. It'll give you a bunch of options. I like to think that creating content is what people kind of think of first. But for me, the bigger level up has been using AI as a strategist, as a co-strategist, as a super smart intern, that when I'm working through ideas and options and strategies, I now have somebody right in my pocket to run these ideas by.
Right.
They're not judging me. They're not my boss. I don't have to bring any bad ideas to my boss or to my board.
Right. But it is good because sometimes you do feel like you're, creating in a vacuum, or just
Right?
making decisions, alone. And so to have something to sort of bounce your ideas off, that seems very cool, because I can say I really use it like that. I've used it for, generating ideas, like creative. I worked with an organization on a 35th anniversary campaign, and we were working on, and I didn't use the exact theme, but it was very helpful and inspiring, and sort of collaborative, I would call it.
Yes. Well, and so absolutely. And when it comes to influence, if you're able to work through some of those things ahead of time, you get those superficial level ideas kind of off your chest. Now you're going in with a higher degree of confidence, right? And you're feeling more like you've just kind of like polished things up a little bit. And now you're in your most persuasive, you're most comfortable in your skin, just having sloughed some of those things off in advance. Plus, you can ask questions like, I'm just straight up nervous that my board chair is not going to receive this well. And then you can have a conversation about, well, has your board president said anything in the past that was, negative, or that made it hard for you to persuade the rest of the board? And you're like, well, no. Okay, well, what evidence do you have that this may not go well? Well, I don't know. I've just been feeling a little bit of weirdness. Well, okay, describe that weirdness. And it can take you through, I'm very easily gaslit, where I have a hard time separating fact from fiction.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I use ChatGPT for that all the time. Is this person, I'm doubting their motives. I feel like maybe they're trying to take advantage of me, and have ChatGPT walk me through. Is there any reason to believe that they have bad intentions? No.
Right. Because one of my coaches, we talk about facts and feelings, right? So the feeling is
Ooh,
this:
facts
what
and
are the
feelings.
facts? What are the facts? If you had to go before a judge and make a case, like,
Yes.
oh, my board doesn't support me, or what? Okay, so what?
Yes.
That's the feeling. Okay, so what are the facts, right? Helping that
Yes.
discernment. Which is so weird because that's kind of what I do for people. And I just love that this is sort of, available to help people kind of think through
Yep.
issues. And, because I was looking at it more like a content generator, but this is a
Mhm.
whole new perspective.
Yes, definitely using it as your co-pilot, your super smart intern, and just remembering that just like an intern would probably run through a wall to make you happy, if you don't tell them which direction to run in, right? Bad things are going to happen. They're just going to happen faster now. You can't say go plan a homecoming event to an intern, nor would you say to ChatGPT, go plan a homecoming event. Just like you wouldn't say to ChatGPT, write me a case statement. You would say, you are a persuasive writer with 25 years of history in fundraising. I need your help writing a case. So you assign a role. I need your help with writing a case statement for an organization that serves girls in STEM. You give it the assignment. You say, here is exactly the tone that I want you to use. And you give it an example of a case statement that you think is like nailing it. And then you give it some details. Just like with an intern, you have to kind of step it through, and then you get the content that's way closer to what you want it to be. It's
Yeah.
all about working with the model.
Yeah. Because one thing I have learned is that what you get back is as only good as the prompts that you give it. Right. So the more prompts that you can give it, the more it will. Now, one of the things I am using it for, because I'm working with a consultant on SEO. And so
Nice.
when I record the podcast like this, we will take that and put it into Chat GPT and have it write a synopsis of this podcast. But we have the keywords that we pick, and then, H1, H2, H3, and insert, because there's a very specific
Yes.
formula she has for this.
Yes.
Um, and then they spit it out. So it's all me, it's all my content. It just saves, somebody from having to create that,
Yep.
recreate something that's already been created.
And it helps people find you. So it amplifies your impact. It serves your community better because now in 5 minutes you have SEO keyword rich show notes instead of show notes, right?
Yes. Yes.
Show notes are great and very,
Yes.
very helpful, but now you've got SEO keyword rich ones, so people are going to find you more
Right.
easily.
And formatted in that way, in the H1, H2. I've been learning so much. I'm actually gonna have her on the podcast to share
Good.
about SEO for nonprofits. Um, okay, so this is amazing. I'm so excited that we're talking about this. And if I'm an ED, CEO, fundraiser, you know, what do you think? I have two questions. Like,
Yes.
what, like, and maybe people or the board is asking, or like, what do I say is my approach, or is this the question I want to ask? How can I make everybody around me chill out about this?
Okay. Yes.
How do I
Shall I
ease the
answer that?
fear? Because again, it's like anything. Oh, are we doing this? How much are we doing? Da da. You're like,
Yes. All right. So here's how you're going to begin the process of having people chill out. Go to fundraising.ai. Fundraising.ai on the internet. We have a framework toward responsible AI in fundraising. This is about 90 experts in the field. We've worked together to create this framework. It addresses most of the things that people are worried about. And so you
gotcha.
can say, hey, you are absolutely right. You are so right. In fact, good news. Bunch of experts around the world have come together to address some of the concerns that you're bringing up, and we have this framework. It's an evolving thing. We're constantly working on it. Our vendors endorse it, boards, organizations, individuals, companies. It's being socialized right now. We've got lots more work to do. Hardly anybody knows about it because it's AI. Everything's brand new. We're growing our wings having jumped off the cliff.
We're building our plane as we fly it. Yes.
Yes, we're building the plane as we fly it. So check out fundraising.ai. And I would say that your first meeting of your quote unquote AI council, which is the group that you're going to have in your organization that's talking about AI, your first meeting is you make an appointment on your calendar. You, executive director, look out next Tuesday. Put 1 hour on your calendar that says inaugural meeting, AI council. And it is you sitting down and reading the framework for responsible AI and beginning to think about how do these pillars, data security and privacy, bias, transparency, explainability, compliance, continuous learning, how do these pillars impact my stakeholders? That's the first meeting of your AI governance council. Then you're going to bring another staff member into it. Then you're going to do a brown bag, right? And I'm recommending it this way and this firmly because the sooner you start this process, the easier it's going to be for you to explain to your board or donor or a funder how you are addressing this stuff. And I want you to start today, right? I want you to start right away because that's the best moment.
Yes.
Because this stuff is barreling. I really feel like we have until about fall or winter before some of this stuff hits the fan.
Okay. And then the next question is, and maybe you've answered this, but I don't know. So, but where would I start? I mean, would I start by doing this like use cases, or do I look at all the things I have going on and say, okay, what could, what could AI help me with the most?
So I recommend finding somewhere, someone, some trusted source for information about how to actually use it. There are a few of us who offer programs, I offer free trainings every Friday on LinkedIn Live at 11 a.m. Pacific. So that would be a good resource. And if you follow me, it's not even about shameless self-promotion, but if you follow me, you'll find other thought leaders in my comments and in my network. So that's a good place to start. But if you were just looking at a blank screen, I would go to openai.com. And there's a little bar at the bottom where you can put, what you want. But OpenAI has done this nice thing. If they've given you some ideas, you could just press a button and an idea might be, help me plan a field trip for, my neighbor's kids to the coast, or help me figure out what kind of ice cream to serve to kindergartners or something. You can just start with one of those and just see how it works.
Gotcha.
Just start playing. I would say what people say is, remember Malcolm Gladwell said, like, you have to do something for 10,000 hours before you're good at it. 10 hours. 10 hours of playing, learning, trying things. Then you'll know. Don't quit before 10 hours. Yeah.
Okay. All
But
right.
at that point, you will be better than 99.5% of people if you put your 10 hours in.
And okay, and so we'll have all your links and all of that in the show notes if you want to pop in for a LinkedIn Live on Friday. This is the new frontier.
It's the new frontier, and I want your audience, as they think about their influence in the world, this is their way to influence the world. And not doing anything will rob their communities of their influence by staying on I hate scarcity mindset, but other people are charging ahead, and we want the voices of the kind of people with integrity and strong leadership and social impact mindset, the kind of people who listen to your podcast, to be out there on the leading edge, because we're here to shape it. We can form it now, or it can be done to us. And that's what I want for your people.
I love it. That's a beautiful way to wrap this up. Now, I want to go play now.
I know. It's so
I have
fun.
a brainstorm with a client in about an hour and a half. I'm like, okay, I'm going to go in there and ask it a bunch of questions about this brainstorm. And I think that's just it. Just go play. Don't worry about it. Just play with it. Because once you start playing with it, you'll see, oh, this is really fun and easy. All right, now one last question. So I'm going to shift because this is how we wrap up these episodes.
Okay.
I'm in Oregon, or you're in St. Louis, right? We are at karaoke. What is your go-to karaoke song and why?
Boy, oh boy, oh boy. First of all, okay, I've never done karaoke my whole life. I
We have
know.
work to do.
I know. I've never done karaoke.
Maybe
So
we should ask OpenAI. We should ask that. What is the best karaoke song to sing
because
if
I
you've
can't, I have
never
the
sang
worst
karaoke
singing.
before?
You know that song, oh, see, I'm afraid. Here's one thing. I have always wanted to be able to sing happy birthday. So so I think I would like to do happy birthday with a karaoke soundtrack behind me so that it would sound good.
There you go.
I wish I had a better answer.
So I just went to the chat GPT and it does have like hey, you can like these 4 things that you could do, right? This
Yeah.
one, a text inviting neighbors to a barbecue, fun fact about the Roman Empire, explain nostalgia to a kindergartner, a recipe with what's in my kitchen. And so
Um,
that's just a, you know what I mean? That's just a way that you can just start playing with the, that you suggested of playing with
yeah,
it. I've done a lot of just brainstorming and on this and just helping me like I said before, it's collaborative. I love what you're thinking
yep,
about, like an intern, it's just there to
yes,
support you and do that work for you.
yep.
um yeah.
No one's judging you for your bad, weird ideas. A really easy one. Here's a very, very easy one I'll leave folks with. Next time they're trying to identify like a title or a heading or a subject line on an email, use ChatGPT for that. Because what you could say is send me 10 options for a subject line for this email. It doesn't need to be clickbaity, right? You want to say it needs to be of interest. It needs to be not boring, but not clickbait. It needs to be 5 words or less, or, begin with the word you or thank you. See how you can do that kind of creative brainstorming, and you may not use the exact result. And that's the beauty of using it for brainstorming is you may not use that exact result, but it's going to give you an idea. It's going to give you
Gotcha.
an idea of something you hadn't thought about before.
Okay, so in case anyone was wondering, choosing a karaoke song for the first time can be exciting. You'll want something that's fun and not too difficult to sing. Here are a few classics that are great for beginners. Sweet Caroline by Neil Diamond.
Oh, I can do that.
Don't
I can
Stop Believin' by Journey. That's kind of a harder song to sing.
Ooh.
I don't know. I Want to Dance with Somebody by Whitney Houston, Living on a Prayer, Bon Jovi,
Oh, I
Wonderwall,
can do
Oasis.
that.
What? You could do that.
I
Yeah,
could do
you
Living
could.
on a
You
Prayer.
could.
Yeah.
And Wonderwall by Oasis, and Walking on Sunshine, Katrina and the Waves.
Okay. I think I have an assignment based on doing this interview.
So that's what AI said about that. And this has been fantastic. I know
Same.
people are going, I hope you all start following Anne and watching the lives on LinkedIn. You said 11 Pacific on Fridays, but all
That's
that'll
right.
be in the show notes. So you'll be able to
Yes.
connect with her. Thanks again for being on the Influential Nonprofit. I
What a
have
delight.
learned so much in the time we spent together.
Yay, what a delight. Thank you for having me. Appreciate this so much.
All right. And as usual, if you want to connect with me about how to grow your influence, how to step into your power and ask for and receive what you want and need in a way that feels fun and easy and aligned and exciting and sustainable, my link is always in the chat and I'm happy to connect. And we'll see you next time on the Influential Nonprofit.